again, welcome back to the Gutowski Files, starring Stephen Gutowski. Stephen is the founder of TheReload.com and the host of the Weekly Reload podcast, and the star of the Gutowski Files, I might add, and a good friend of mine. Stephen, how are you, sir?
BakerTargets.com is where I get the targets you see me shoot all the time on Active Self-Protection Extra. They ship fast, their prices are great, and they have all kinds of targets, both for competitive shooting, defensive shooting, and fun too. Check them out.
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good. I want to mention this for the last time ever. We've heard our audience, and we will not talk about anything not gun related until the very end, at which point you can turn this off and not be subjected to it. So
that's the best part of the show, though, in my opinion.
I think so too. I mean, unprofessional. I'll just bump my mic. All right,
so it does make sense to get right into the news. So what are we doing?
Yeah, I was about to. So over at the Reload, there's an article by Stephen Gutowski. It is entitled "Newsletter: New Poll Finds Huge Jump in Gun Ownership." Tell us, Stephen, about that. Who did the poll and what were they asking?
Yeah, so this poll is from NBC News, and they were. It's a little bit interesting, a little bit different from the other polls that ask about gun ownership that you typically see from major outlets or academic institutions or what have you, because this one asks specifically voters whether they own guns or have a gun in the home, and it was the first time ever that they found more than half of American voters report having a gun in the home now. It's 52%. And that was a significant increase over the last time they asked this, which is another key bit because that was 2019. Mm-hmm. And as we've talked about a lot on this show and a lot of it over at the Reload, there was a big sea change during the pandemic era, the 2020 and afterwards, where we saw a huge spike in gun sales. And there was some evidence that indicates there was a huge increase in the number of new gun owners, to the tune of millions and millions of new gun owners, according to at least, industry surveys. The National Shooting Sports Foundation, which is the firearms industry's trade group, has done dealer surveys where they ask dealers if they're seeing new customers, and they use that survey to calculate how many new customers they think were coming in during that time period. And, so that's one piece of evidence. If you're trying to build a strong case for a trend or something significant like millions of Americans becoming new gun owners, you obviously want more than just one piece of evidence. And so this is the first major media poll where you've seen the kind of effect that you would expect if that's true. If there have been millions of new gun owners coming into the community over the last couple of years, you would expect the number of people reporting that they're either a gun owner or that they have a gun in their house would go up. And we had seen a little bit of that in some of the other polling from Pew, and the Associated Press especially found, I think, their largest percentage ever, but it was still like 46%. It was a couple point raise. And now, a couple percentage points when you're thinking of the American populace, that is millions of people. Mm-hmm. But here's the first one where we've seen a really significant increase. I believe it was 8 points. And if you look too, actually it's 10 points over the last 10 years. So I think it was 8 points over the last 3 years. And then this also dovetails with another aspect of we've been talking a lot about, right? Which is the changing nature of gun ownership in America, the changing face of the American gun owner. Mm-hmm. Right. Now, this has been obviously an ongoing process, I think, for well on 20 years now, but it's really accelerated during the pandemic, where we saw your stereotypical gun owner, your average gun owner, move from being more rural, more white, more male and older and more interested in hunting, to being more suburban and urban, and more minorities, more women, and more people who were primarily interested in self-defense have started purchasing guns. And you're seeing that reflected in this poll too, because the largest increases in gun ownership among any given demographic came with minorities. NBC poll found there were 41% of Black voters now say they or someone they live with owns a gun. Mm-hmm. That's up 17% since 2019. So
big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to state, key in on something you said, for the reasons given by respondents to the poll as to why are they getting a gun, and increasingly it is, in fact, for self-defense versus, sports shooting or hunting or other reasons that were traditionally sort of at the top of the list for why people would buy a firearm.